Indigo threatened to cut drivers and routes. Now the troubled bus company has come up with a new plan. We'll lay it out for you. The family of a slain teenager awaits the jury's verdict. His friend is standing trial for his murder for a second time. Get the latest on the deliberations in just a few minutes.
One of the world's most deadly chemical weapons sits by the ton in Indiana, making us a national security issue. I'm Karen Hensel. ITeam 8 takes the issue to Washington and the experts asking, how safe is Indiana?
Plus, an Indiana congressman gets a promotion that has a political opponent asking some questions.
News 8 at 6 o'clock starts now.
Live from Wish TV, this is News 8, your 24-hour news station.
The terrorists have been looking for conspicuous trophies. Now, they could find some in Indiana.
One of those trophies sits just west of Indianapolis in Newport, Indiana. Tonight, ITeam 8 Project Security uncovers national security concerns here in Indiana. Good evening. It is now 6 o'clock, and in just a few moments, the troubling findings of an ITeam 8 investigation. There is a national security issue here. But first, you probably wouldn't want to walk 5 or 10 miles to work, but many of you thought you wouldn't have any choice.
That's right. Indigo threatened to cut back on drivers and bus routes because of a $4 million deficit. Well, now officials say they have a new plan. News 8's Marley Ginter is joining us live, where bus riders and Indigo officials went head to head. And Marley, what's the new plan?
Well, there's quite a bit of tension right now beyond these doors, where the Indigo board is hearing public comment right now on its new plan. Let me go ahead and show you what this proposal looks like. This is the proposal that's on the table right now. If you look at this map, you can see where these purple lines are. Now, originally, these purple lines were routes that were going to be eliminated, but now the Indigo board wants to restore these routes right around Sherman Drive and the Prospect area. Still, though, people came out here earlier today voicing a lot of concerns. One rider was handing out posters and flyers, some posters that said, "Stop the bus route cuts." Keep in mind that for some people, these buses are the only way for them to get to work, to school, even to see a doctor. Now, Indigo had about more than really 8 million rides in 2003 alone. Because it certainly isn't a bus system that people don't use.
That's correct.
So will people still be guaranteed some service?
That's exactly what we're about, yes. But it may not be the fixed route service that they're accustomed to. This is where we as a system have got to work together.
So this is what the chairman has said, that now the plan is to restructure some of the routes. That means that some of your bus routes may be too far for you to get to. That being the case, he says that the board is willing to work with riders and get people to use the van pool program and the rideshare program, but that hasn't seemed to be good enough for a lot of the people out here. So we'll see what the Indigo board plans coming up at 11.
Marley Ginter at the Indigo meeting at the fairgrounds. Thank you.
New developments tonight in the legal dispute over the management of Conner Prairie. Indiana Attorney General Steve Carter says Earlham College has failed to provide all of its financial information from its 40 years of managing Conner Prairie. Today, Carter filed a petition in Hamilton Superior Court asking a judge to force Earlham to provide that information. Carter is trying to negotiate a settlement between the college and the Living Museum. The two sides are fighting over a multi-million-dollar trust donated by the late Eli Lilly.
We think those facts are important to an ultimate resolution of this matter. The public has the right to this information, and in fact, that's the only way the citizens of the state of Indiana can hold a public charitable trust accountable, is to have that information provided.
Carter is still hopeful that a settlement can be reached soon.
At this hour, a Marion County jury is deliberating the fate of a 15-year-old boy. Prosecutors say Keith Munden murdered 14-year-old Anthony Boycourt. The shooting happened on January 1st of last year. Prosecutors say Munden shot his friend because he owed Munden $400 for a marijuana debt.
The kid's a killer. Cynthia alluded to it in her final argument that times have changed. Offenders are getting more violent, they're getting younger. And if he's a member of this community, he will conduct himself within the confines of the criminal law, or he'll face the bar of justice. I don't care how old he is.
Now, this is the second time that Munden has been on trial for Boycourt's murder. His first trial ended in a mistrial. News 8 will update the jury's deliberations at 11 o'clock.
Indiana Congressman Steve Booyer was rewarded with a promotion in the Army Reserves today in a White House ceremony.
But News 8's Jim Scheller reports that one of Bouyer's primary opponents thinks the timing is suspicious.
I never dreamed that my career would be to the promotion of colonel by the President of the United States in the Oval Office.
Steve Booyer advanced from lieutenant colonel to colonel in the Army Reserves in a private ceremony this afternoon. George W. Bush pinned Silver Eagles on Booyer, who has served in the reserves for nearly 24 years.
What I am holding Steve accountable for, though, is the fact that he tried to use the war for political gain.
Meantime, Dennis Hardy, one of Bouyer's 3 primary opponents, is distributing a direct mail flyer that compares the congressman to Bill Clinton, saying that both lied to the American people. Hardy is making reference to a letter that Booyer sent to House Speaker Dennis Hastert last year, saying that he had been called to active duty. Hardy also questioned today's ceremony.
But it does seem kind of funny that, 3 days before the primary, he has the president pin him on his promotion when normally it's presidents don't pin 06s. They pin 4-star generals and 5-star generals, and we haven't had any of them in a while.
Bouyer's press secretary says that Booyer never would have been promoted if he had done what Hardy says.
People also need to know that we're all busy in our lives, but there are a few of us that also serve in Congress that were unwilling to give up our military commissions.
Congressman Booyer has never fully explained the events surrounding the letter he wrote to House Speaker Hastert saying that he was being called to active duty. The Pentagon later said that Booyer was not. Booyer spokesperson Laura Zuckerman today called the Dennis Hardy flyer, quote, a mischaracterization of events, but refused to answer questions on the matter.
Jim Scheller, thanks.
Now our ITeam investigation. The deadliest chemical weapon in the world sits by the ton just west of Indianapolis.
ITeam 8's Karen Hensel uncovers security concerns about the VX nerve agent. Karen?
Good evening, Mike and Debbie. Some say the VX is a ticking time bomb, a terrorist target, an accident waiting to happen. Former FBI agent Doug Garrison put security to the test.
The terrorists declared war on the United States of America.
We know that the terrorists are resolute, but we are more so. They plan and they prepare, and so must we.
We must, and we will, do everything we can to harden terrorist targets within the United States.
The danger of terror and weapons of mass destruction comes home to Indiana. Even the U.S. Army and the man in charge of Newport say the continued storage of these stockpiles represents a significant threat. Destroying it will eliminate a significant terrorist target for our nation. Newport, Indiana, an hour west of Indianapolis, is a national security issue.
Well, clearly, so long as VX is in Indiana, the danger of exposure to deadly gases is there.
More than 1,200 tons of VX, the world's most deadly chemical weapon, is stored here.
A drop in your skin will kill you.
If something was to go wrong, what are you going to do?
The questions strike with urgency. More than 2 years after 9/11, there is no endgame. The poisonous agent remains vulnerable.
We're flying 5,000 feet, almost 1 mile over the Newport Chemical Depot. One of the grave threats to this complex would be a 9/11 style airplane strike on the complex. At this legal altitude, an airplane on a suicide mission could strike the complex below me within seconds.
Could defenses in the area possibly be scrambled in time to prevent a strike on the complex? Military sources tell ITeam 8 combat air patrols from St. Louis, Chicago, or Detroit would be the first line of air defense. An F-16 traveling at twice the speed of sound would still take at least 5 minutes to reach Newport.
What could you do to stop a plane at that altitude coming down?
If it was showing hostile acts, our defensive measures here would at least engage it.
Would you send aircraft up, or are these ground procedures?
These would be ground procedures for us.
What are those ground procedures? Off camera, he says security is comparable to the White House. On camera, he compares it to a prison. These are satellite images of the depot layout, easily available to anyone right off the internet.
If a commercial aircraft, if one of those 911 aircraft landed at Newport at the stockpile, it'd be the worst catastrophe potentially in the history of the world.
Terrorists are not the only concern. For years, Indiana officials have worried about tornadoes making the VX nerve agent airborne.
Those canisters are not very heavy. The canisters are only about 3,200 pounds. That's the size of a small car. And in this last outbreak of tornadoes, we saw cars flung all over the place.
Jerry Hauer, formerly head of Indiana State Emergency Management, now a Washington-based terrorism expert, has warned about Newport for more than a decade. 14 years ago, he watched as this tornado passed within 1 mile of the deadly VX stockpile.
It's only a matter of time before the odds catch up with you and something blows through that facility. And you'd have VX all over the place.
In 2 minutes, the ITeam investigation looks at other safety issues and gaps as Project Security continues.
The ITeam Project Security Report continues now.
Our focus is on one of the world's largest stockpiles of deadly VX nerve agent in Newport, Indiana. Here again, Karen Hensel.
As you saw, Indiana's storage site of the deadly VX nerve agent is vulnerable from the air, ground, and nature. There is also the threat of earthquakes. Indiana sits on the New Madrid fault line extended. Experts say Hoosiers could feel the shocks from Newport to Indianapolis. Remember, the concern is making the VX, a substance that's like motor oil, airborne and aerosolized. It happened in Utah. During testing, just 20 pounds of VX was accidentally released to the wind. More than 6,000 sheep were killed up to 40 miles away. If it happened here, it would cut a deadly path nearly to Danville. Only 20 pounds of the VX killed over 6,000 sheep. Don't forget, Indiana stores 1,200 tons.
Indiana's senior senator has been successful in getting rid of weapons of mass destruction in Russia, but admits that it is still a challenge to protect Hoosiers from the VX sitting in Indiana.
The intersection of terrorism and weapons of mass destruction is the ultimate event that could change the course of our history.
Change our history and security.
Since 9/11, the Newport Depot has been hardened with tighter security. The Indiana National Guard is on site as Homeland Security. However, a private contractor provides gate security. We saw a lone pickup truck with semi-automatic weapons guarding the actual VX. No one is in the guard shacks on all four corners. The VX is stored under mounds of dirt and rocks, but as long as 14 years ago, Hauer was saying steel-reinforced concrete was the safest. Terrorists have used high-powered munitions with the power to penetrate armor and bring down airplanes. They are easily transported in an automobile.
Newport boasts it has passed security tests, but nationwide at several nuclear weapons labs in the past few years, more than 250 keys turned up missing, including 2 perimeter gates. Important to note because ITeam 8 drove and walked along a perimeter gate of Newport in an unmarked SUV.
And I am at a particular security posture that would rival a prison.
Because we drove along the perimeter and nobody said anything to us.
You did today, okay?
No, a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Should somebody have said something to us, or because we were not trying to break into the fence, it wasn't an issue?
It was actually working.
So did you know we were here that day?
Mm-hmm.
But when ITeam 8 pushed for proof they knew we were there, our repeated requests were ignored. The deadliest chemical weapon in the world sits in Indiana, separated from the outside only by a simple chain link fence topped with barbed wire. No one, no armed guard ever stopped us. No one ever questioned us. Some may wonder why we are reporting this. Authorities tell us terrorists and enemies of the United States already know most of this. They are well aware of our vulnerabilities. The point of our investigation is to focus on improving our defenses and strengthening homeland security here in Indiana.
Yeah, what about the people who live in Newport itself?
Yeah, there are about 3,500 people who live in the immediate response zone. If something happened, it would be too late to evacuate them. When we asked Senator Bayh and Senator Lugar if they would live in Newport, Their answers underscored the nightmare scenario. That's tonight at 11. Plus, we'll explore the critical concern over the aging containers the VX is stored in. The new investigation continues tonight at 11.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen Hensel, thanks.
Our warm, dry weather will give way to some changes. I'll have a look ahead in your forecast.
This portion of the news brought to you by Butler Toyota.
The story is just in. There is a verdict in the murder trial of Keith Munden. We'll bring you the jury's decision as soon as we get it.
And the forecast now from Angela. Pretty good day today.
It was warm, too. Upper 70s this afternoon. Lots of sunshine. It was still windy, yes, and those winds are going to continue at least this evening. Then we'll see winds of change, especially as we get into the end of the weekend. That look ahead in just a minute. Let's start with kind of a hazy view from Tower Cam 8. We had some sunshine, some clouds. It was beautiful, but also, as Mike mentioned, on the windy side. Our high today, 77. Our low this morning dropped to 55 degrees and still breezy out there now. Winds out of the south-southwest at 10, and we currently have 73 degrees. Different perspective on the cloud cover. We've had some sun, we've had some clouds, but in terms of precipitation, clouds producing the rain still out to our west, but there's a chance these will move across the state line, so we'll keep a spotty shower in the forecast tonight and maybe a scattered shower or thunderstorm during the day tomorrow. All thanks to a weather system that's developing out west. It's going to slowly work its way south. So again, the possibility of a couple of spotty showers overnight and through the early part of tomorrow. And then as this weather system starts to work its way a little farther south, we'll see a better chance for some showers and thunderstorms. Spotty at best tomorrow. Not everyone will get wet. It is not going to rain all day on Friday, but come Friday night and early Saturday morning, pause forecast 8 futurecast midnight Saturday, showers and thunderstorms. That's when we're going to see the heaviest precipitation. And as long as this frontal boundary is with us, we're going to see the chance for some rain right on through noon Saturday before this front starts to take the heaviest rain south of us late in the day Saturday. At this point, it doesn't look like the weekend is going to be a washout, but like last weekend, we're going to have to work around some rain. Mostly cloudy and mild, spotty showers tonight, 58. It's not going to rain all day tomorrow. Variable clouds, another warm one at 76. Scattered showers, maybe a pop-up thunderstorm late in the day. Better chance for some steadier rain Friday night through the early half of Saturday. Saturday with the rain around, just a little cooler at 70. As that front moves south of us, we really cool down. Sprinkles and 55 by the end of the weekend.
Okay, Angela, thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Smooth running at the track until today.
Yeah.
Trouble out there.
Yeah, some crashes out there today at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We'll tell you all about it coming up next.
This portion of the news brought to you by SBC.
Good evening, folks. Well, after a pretty smooth day yesterday, day 2 of testing at the Speedway had 3 crashes. Buddy Rice, Darren Manning, and Alex Barron all hit the wall. Now, the good news tonight, all 3 were uninjured and cleared to drive again. Now, Barron's car suffered the worst damage today. He crashed his Red Bull Cheever racing car in turn 2. Now, just before the practice session was held, scheduled to end. Now, Barron explains what happened.
Coming into turn 1, just as I started to bend the car in way before the corner, something let go on the rear of the car. I heard it, and then I didn't have any control. I counter-steered, made corrections 3 or 4 times, but I couldn't bring the thing back under control to go straight.
And you're okay?
Yeah, I'm great. I got a little knot on my foot, but other than that, I'm good to go.
Now, that's good news that he's okay. Meanwhile, Sports 8 has learned tonight that the NCAA will punish schools and teams that can't graduate their athletes or keep them academically eligible on the road toward a degree. Now, the incentives program basically holds each school and sports program accountable for educating the student athlete. Graduation rate cut lines will be drawn where if schools fall below certain academic standards for their teams, they'll suffer scholarship losses, possible limits in recruiting, all the way to making the team ineligible for postseason play. The way athletes are recruited will also change come fall.
And what I've detected is a common interest on the part of presidents, athletic directors, coaches, anyone that I've talked to, the public, to try to do something different than just compete for prospects. Is there another way to look at this and bring some common sense into perspective? And that's what we're going to try to do.
And finally tonight, Colts fans in Muncie, get ready for some football. That's because Tony Dungy and the Colts will be on the Ball State University campus tomorrow night for minicamp.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Number one thing, getting everybody back together for the first time, getting our new guys involved and getting them acclimated to what we do. And for the first time since I've been here, taking our team somewhere outside of Indianapolis. And we are looking forward to going to Muncie and having a great practice, but interacting with the fans up there.
Tomorrow, of course, we'll be there. It gets underway at 5 o'clock.
All right.
AC, thanks.
Thanks, AC. Well, the jury has reached a decision in the murder trial of 15-year-old Keith Munden. The defense and prosecution are just now returning to court. We'll have the verdict and reaction at 11 o'clock. Plus, a follow-up to the proposed annexation in Hamilton County. Carmel is considering 13 miles of land. But how many people are really in favor of that? A state senator took a survey. And a warning, if you're coming downtown, police say vandals are targeting cars in parking garages. How they operate tonight, new at 11 o'clock.
Might be some rain on the way. Let's find out. Here's Angela.
Just a few showers developing across the state of Illinois. We're dealing with just clouds, and we may see a spotty shower, but that's at 10 p.m. Temperature 67.
All right, thanks, Angela. That's our news. I'm Debbie Knox.
I'm Mike Ahern for Angela and AC. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock. Dan Rather is next. Good night.